I have this 2012 Honda Accord. They brought it here saying that the wheel bearing is bad, and I went to test drive, which is I don't hear the wheel bearing, okay, but I asked the person who brought here, he or she said that when you slow into a brake, you hear like a grinding noise. And I was wondering if the brake pad is worn out. But according to, they were saying that the wheel bearing. And and I checked, the brake pad is pretty decent. And this brake pad is from AutoZone, I believe. They do making noise sometimes, but not this kind of noise. And you can see that the worn out is not evenly. You see the mark right here, the dust and the clean. So that means that this side is low and this side is high. So according to this right here, it will make noise. This already clean, okay. The lower pin is almost stuck because there's no grease inside. There's no grease. I did not do the inspection before that, but I already tested, and I know that when you don't have proper return pins lubricated, so that will happening, and this is almost dry out. When this dry out, and this will freeze up, and then when you brake, it's not return. You see all the grease dry out, okay. Then you have this problem right here, the grinding noise, and you will have brake pad worn out like this. One side lower than the other side, and even sometime one side like this empty and this side still new. So that means they did not properly grease or never grease it. So that's why you having problem like this. So they did change the rotor, I can see that, and this is new rotor, and I think maybe they thought the rotor and then change the rotor and doesn't solve the problem. If you are a mechanic at a such big shop like that, and you don't even check this return pin, and you think that wheel bearing, and it's good thing that they did not let fixing it. I did not mention, but because they was told, said so, okay. So that's what I have to straighten reference to. You are such a big shop and you don't even check all this, and you just straight to the customer that you want replacing the wheel bearing. So that is not the solution, because you see rotor been changed, brake pad been changed, and that noise increasing, making noise, and you assume it's a wheel bearing. No, it's not. If a wheel bearing, if you freely spin like this, you will hear a high pitch rolling like a no grease on it. Then that is a wheel bearing. But according to this right here, you have to re-grease this. You have to clean inside here first, and make sure you're using I would say just W40. That would be working. And make sure you dry all the old grease inside here out and re-lubricate this. I will show you how. If you take the car to the big shop, any like dealership, and it's not mean the shop, it is the person who inspected your car. If he or she doesn't have the experience that know everything, then shoot, you're gonna have this kind of problem, because they don't have the experience to check your car thoroughly, and they thought would be like wheel bearing. I would say if the person who inspect your car and saying that, okay, let's replace it. After they replace it, okay, it doesn't solve the problem. Because why I say it doesn't solve it? They didn't do thoroughly inspect your car, and they assume it's wheel bearing, right? It's not wheel bearing, and then they replace the wheel bearing, it will have the same problem. Not just this little minor here. I think last year I have two car. One is a Toyota Avalon, one is Mitsubishi Eclipse. The person who brought it The Avalon is one of the doctor that he taking his car to a local small shop, and they was told, okay, your car is need new engine because idle very rough, idle rough, and the car is almost like dying, and they say that your car need engine replacement. So I was like nephew to him, saying he said, well, can you take a look my car? They told me that it has to be replaced engine, and I looking at a test drive and do it through the inspection is one of the sensor control air, and it doesn't giving enough air to supply to the engine, and that sensor just like cutting off no air to it, so the engine is like almost dying. I bought a used engine, and that had that sensor that he needed. Took my sensor, put it in, and it's running perfectly. So something like that is just because lacking on knowledge, and you just finalize to replace the engine, you're going to throw like $4,000 or $5,000 just for that, for just a little sensor that costs only $100. Same thing here. Wheel bearing is expensive job. Something like this, I will guarantee is cost $200. I clean already. Let me dry the inside first, and then put grease on it. And the same thing, the Mitsubishi Eclipse. One of my friend that he worked for the radio station. I know him for a long time because when I used to work at the Ford Toyota dealership, and we do advertising with him. He know me from there, but he didn't know that I fix car. He was referred by his uncle, because his uncle is know me for a long time. He said, well, just take to my uncle. I'm his uncle, and then he was the other guy's uncle too. So take to my uncle. And when he brought it to me, he said, hey, I didn't know that you. Yeah, that's me. You fix car? I said, here and there. When I fix it, hey, just only one sensor as well. And because they refer to replace the engine, they was like, okay, my engine was replaced already, at one time. And this is the second time that they told me to replace again. I said, well, your car is not engine, definitely. So I fixed it, and he didn't believe it. He said, because that shop is telling me it's the engine, so it's sitting at the shop for a month, and because I don't want to fix it, that's why I don't have a car to drive. Good thing I find you that you solved the problem. But he didn't trust me that, okay, when you don't have a big sign posting that you are, fix car, people don't trust you that much, unless they know you for good reason, and they will trust you to work on their car. He not too sure, so I told him that just drive at least 60 miles to 100 miles, and you bring it back here so I can check to see all the sensor is ready. After a month, and I asked him, have you done it? Say, no. You don't have a car to drive. How come you don't take your car for a smog? Because you need to drive. So he said, well, maybe my car is not ready. It's not fixed. I said, okay, let me take this smog. So I got the car and drive for 60 miles around. Took him to smog and passed. He had that car ever since, and never had that problem again. I think the first engine is probably the same thing, and they didn't know, so they replaced the engine for nothing too. At that time on, then he know that, okay, I am his mechanic. Problem is not what the other mechanic was told. So at that point on, then he keep bring all his cars to me to do check or fix or whatever. So lubricate the inside. Put a little bit more grease in this, because I'm going to stick this inside here and do it a couple times. And I would say add a little bit more. I will take it out again and try to put more grease in. okay, because it's been dry. So I have couple cars that this pin is locked, and you can't really turn the pin, or and you have to buy the new bracket. Sometimes the bracket is not coming separately, and you have to buy the whole caliper and the caliper holder bracket together. I have done that before. Grease already, and recommended to changing to new brake pad. Okay, but person who bring this car in, just kids, so don't have a lot of money and just want to do something that fast fixing only. He just bought this car, so don't have a lot of money to spend on something like this. Just try to help him out, lubricating, and hopefully this will be stopping the noise. Okay, best is to replace the brake pad. And on this right here, you don't have to be forcing this 12 millimeter here so much. You can torque this, I think 29 or 20 something foot-pound only, not a lot. So let's put the wheel back up and let's go test drive to see. That will solve the problem for that. Could have little noise because the brake pad is not wearing out evenly, but according to this right now, it should have no noise. Right now, let's do a road test. According to wheel bearing, not at the slow to stop to hear the wheel bearing. Okay, when you're braking to a stop and you hear noise, that does not apply to wheel bearing. Wheel bearing when you're driving approximately 20 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour, sometimes even higher, then you hear a hum noise, then that is possible wheel bearing. Okay, now on this right here, the reason it's not wheel bearing because only when you apply your foot to the brake at slow to stop, you hear that. So when something like that happening, that is not wheel bearing. Okay, now on the back, when I take it out, I do explain about wheel bearing sounds. Okay, so that should be, if you take the axles out and you spin fleeting and you hear hum noise, then that is wheel bearing. But according to this right here, just the return pin that they did not properly lubricate it and making the brake pad were uneven. So that's where when you press your brake pad, together to stop, and it does not pushing enough from both sides. So that's why you're hearing that noise. So now if you have a similar problem like this, so you know how to solving that problem. And thank you for watching. Please help subscribe to keep my channel go up. Okay, and I do need your help. If you need my help, please subscribe and give me a comment, and question, then I will answer your question. Okay, thank you so much. Bye bye now.